Well, welcome back, Florida Southern Moccasins, as we continue Module 1 of Esports Sponsorship Activation. So I will share my slide again. We'll pick up kind of where we left off. Okay. So the focus for the second half of this is going to be how to use esports marketing to grow your business to consumer reach. Well, that is actually the theme of the entire course. So when we talk about esports, though, obviously we need to differentiate and delineate what we're talking about. So let's take a look at America's favorite video games. In other words, what exactly are the genres that we're looking at? Well, in the US, action games, these are either platform games or fighting games, are pretty much the most popular, followed very closely by action adventure. So we can basically say that when we take action and action adventure together, we see where most of the American eyeballs happen to be on them, followed closely by strategy and then by casual games. Now, casual games was the King Syndicate, right? The King Company did Candy Crush and what have you. And Activision Blizzard, realizing that they needed to expand their market, they purchased King, and that created a lot of outrage among Activision Blizzard folks who were like, oh my goodness, this is unacceptable. I mean, we just want action and adventure. We don't want soccer moms on here. Well, the fact of the matter is we do, because that is how we make more money through sponsorships. So you can see here that there's a slew of video game genres, okay? Now, let's get into the meat of things, which is the why of esports sponsorship. And this is probably one of the most important slides of the entire course. So if you're a company, you're asking yourself, why should I consider esports sponsorship? What is there to this sponsor, right? First of all, it's that great capitalistic word, growth. What do we mean by that? Esports, despite being a very new phenomenon, continues to grow and continues to compete with traditional sports in many economic aspects. We're going to look at prize pools, we'll look at viewership, and we'll look at fan monetization. The one thing that COVID-19 showed us was that if you're going to be stuck at home, you're going to be playing a lot of games. And if you're not going to be playing a lot of games, you're going to watch people play a lot of games through various media, okay? Now, the next question is, what kind of esports sponsorship will reach my brand's target audience? That very much is dependent on sponsorships that have the potential to reach a young, mostly male audience in a far more targeted way than traditional sports sponsorships, okay? When you take a traditional sports sponsorship, let's say the Super Bowl, when you're spending millions upon millions of dollars to shotgun, all right? You want to shotgun your ad or your service and hope that some percentage of them will respond. In the old days when you had mass mailings, if you got a 1% return rate, you were ready to pop the champagne corks. That's not the case anymore. Because of technology and digitization, we can focus upon very particular target markets. And the notion of a target market is, this is a group that is most likely to buy or purchase your product or service. So within esports, there are, in fact, notable differences in audience characteristics. Next, how do I measure relevant reach of my esports asset to compare it to other assets in my portfolio? Because all of these companies that we're talking about, they're advertising elsewhere other than esports. So how am I going to ascertain whether or not my esports marketing is better? Well, you need a rigorous marketing return on investment framework that will help you track your outcomes, compare esports assets with traditional assets, and refine your sponsorship strategy. Now, this is where technology comes into play. You're able to break down reach measures of a desired target audience that measures how this honest reach assessment can result in higher efficiency than other sponsorship assets, depending on the targeted audience. The great thing about digital media is that no data is ever lost. We're going to be paying a lot of attention to analysis. The fact that we are able to ascertain how many people were watching at what particular time, when in fact did purchases result, how long were they watching an ad, how long were they watching this influencer, and all of this has got to go into the mindset of the modern marketing person, i.e. you, the graduate of this program, okay? Now that brings us to what risks are associated with esports sponsorship and how can I mitigate these risks? Well, you're going to do that through the right approach and dedication that are required because there are risks. These include reputational risks. This is something that is not normally to be concerned with traditional sports advertising. But with esports, especially when you're going to putting your money behind a particular influencer, who or what that individual does or says will have direct impact on you. Which also means you've got to figure out which risks need to be taken seriously, which ones are common misconceptions, but how can you be blindsided? Okay, so that's the detective in you, which really has to be, every marketing person's got to be a detective. So that said, we all know, look, the esports is capable of reaching millennials as well as members of Generation Z. Males 12 to 35 years old. It's now undeniable. What's also going to be undeniable, as we're going to see, is that the female cohort in esports continues to grow and grow. So this is becoming even more appealing to potential sponsors. Now, you've got to look at the current valuations for esports teams and leagues, how they reflect burgeoning investor confidence that marketing budgets for esports will grow accordingly. This is a little dated. We have people like Mark Cuban who are saying, you know what, I expected a faster ROI from esports and I'm disenchanted. Well, Mark, that depends on what you were in fact expecting. We've seen that a lot of compound annual growth rate is in the teen plus percentage. If only that's the case. But if the viewership there is growing to that degree, does that commensurately mean that advertising return should grow accordingly? That's harder to ascertain, okay? So the bottom line is, if the esports industry can deliver efficient reach through better sales and marketing capabilities, through standard audience metrics, by the way, they're not standard, they're heightened, they're advanced, and the aggregation of titles, genres, and streamers, then that confidence, that sponsorship activation should be rewarded. Now, I was referring a little bit just a minute ago about female streamers, about female esports watchers. The fact of the matter is, between the years 16 and 18, we saw a pretty significant increase in female viewership of esports, okay? Now, when we look at deeper engagement, that remains a challenge, at least it did in the quarter of 18. But what it means is that the female esports player and watcher, I hate to be a chauvinist in this respect, but they have a much higher level of desire when it comes to, I want to be engaged in this. I want to have, meaningful, I want it to be meaningful. All right. A lot of the male gamers are in it for the wham, bang, pow, and what have you. But the fact is, the female demographic is, in fact, a lot more demanding. And I think that's a good thing. Okay. Now, esports on the whole, it has the potential to be even more powerful branding than traditional sports because of the fact that it's very much built on interactivity. Interactivity means the agency of the viewer, which is something we really don't have with broadcast television. The only agency we have there is mute or change channel. So what this means is that ad frequency during esports on Twitch is actually currently very low, typically with just a couple of ad interruptions per hour. This goes back to the whole dynamic of why did Amazon buy Twitch for almost $1 billion when Twitch made no money? Because what is Amazon? Amazon sells things. It's all about selling. And they wanted to start selling to younger eyeballs. Okay. I'm a boomer. We're dying. Okay. You are either a millennial or you are a Gen Z. You're on the ascendancy. So Amazon bought Twitch because they want your eyeballs. But what are they going to do? They're going to do like, Google did to YouTube, ruin it by introducing ads, ads. Twitch has been resistant to this, but it's inevitable that more ads are going to appear. Now, when we talk about streamers a little bit later on, we need to keep in mind that the reason they're important is that they are willing to wear, willing to consume, and willing to endorse sponsored products while they are broadcasting. And with live chat, with contests, with subscriber-only content, esports fans reach a level of intimacy with their favorite players and teams that traditional sports can't realistically match. When a traditional sport is going on, the players are not interacting with you. You will notice, though, that what's happening, say, in baseball, is all of a sudden now each team is allowed one advertiser patch on their uniform. Okay. Baseball does not want to become NASCAR, where the sponsors and all that on NASCAR, they're broadcast. I mean, they're on the NASCAR outfit, they're on the NASCAR itself. And that, if anything, is the penultimate sponsorship activation when it comes to a particular sport. But we're starting to see this more and more entering traditional sport. And it's alive and well when it comes to esports, such that you now have entire dedicated individuals and companies that are helping channel investment in esports, called the next frontier for digital marketing. And that's because global game market revenue in 2023 was $90.5 billion. Okay. Now, let's go back to esports. This is an important slide. Okay. Top US sports leagues versus esports. Where is the money? When you take a look at esports, which is on the far right, what do we see here? We see here that sponsorship is by far the largest percentage of revenue stream for esports. That is why you are in this class. Esports market here in this is in the United States, 1.9, well, no, 1 point, what is this about? Skip that. Okay. Audience growth continues to happen. Do I anticipate it's going to remain at 15.7 CAGR? No, I don't. But this is important. Esports viewership dynamics. It's important because what happened in 2022? Viewership went down. That is considered to be the esports winter. The esports winter, meaning everything got very cold. Now, why was that the case? Because publishers did not roll out new games. Things became pretty shallow and fallow. Overwatch League demised. And if anything, it was sort of a comeback to say that there's going to be peaks and valleys along the way. Right now, we're back on an upward swing. So much so that when we took a game live streaming audience growth in 2024, we're looking at, again, very significant numbers, 920.3 million hours. Okay, that's significant. Now, why is it popular? I mean, why is it? Okay, why are you watching esports? Well, the biggest percentage is to learn tips and tricks from the pros. Now, the only way you're going to do that is through watching the streamers broadcast their games. All right. To become a better gamer at 28%, just 1% beneath getting tricks from the pros, there is a lot of true self-interest here. I want to become better at what I'm doing. But also at 28%, there is the experience the competition provides. And the fact of the matter is, I think one of the reasons I love business so much is it's about competition. Okay. I mean, frankly, life is about competition, right? So competition is the nature of sport. And so esports is really doing that to a fine degree. Now, 28% also say it's the pastime. I'm bored. I want to do something, but I want to do something that is at the very least marginally interesting or potentially really interesting. And 26% said to experience games and gaming in a new and different way. And frankly, it's one of the reasons I was attracted to esports, because I wanted to find out what young people, my students, why they found it so interesting. And I've got a whole list of social dynamics, societal dynamics that I think delineate why interactive digital media is so popular among young people. And a lot of it comes down to agency. But Don, we're not here to sit on a soapbox. Okay. Now, some bottom lines. Esports audience growth. It's expected to top 575 million this year. 6 out of 10 internet users watching esports are aged between your ages. Okay. 3, 1 trillion minutes of content views on Twitch occurred in 2020. Okay. TV, movies, they can't do this. And 90% of Twitch fans can recall at least one non-gaming esports sponsor. In other words, 90% of Twitch fans can recall at least one non-endemic esports sponsor. We keep talking about Twitch and all that because Twitch continues to win. But so much of what we're going to be discussing when it comes to esports sponsorship activation applies just as well to YouTube gaming, to Facebook gaming, to even some of the smaller channels like Africa TV, Kick, which is the new upstart, and other streaming sites. Now, interestingly enough, when you take a look at popular social media platforms in the US, you don't even see Twitch there, right? I mean, YouTube remains number one. However, YouTube does in fact have YouTube gaming. Facebook, which is number 2, has Facebook gaming. They just have a lot more other things. Although just chatting on Twitch has become number 1, but again, that's beyond the purview. But YouTube gaming and Facebook gaming really have the same dynamic as Twitch gaming. So everything we're talking about has applicability to content that can be found on the number 1 and the number 2 social media platforms in the US. So much so that if we look at YouTube gaming video comparisons, it goes up and down, right? June was a little bit higher of 2023 than it was in May. And when we take a look at the games, the top games of the year, notice it's GTA, it's Grand Theft Auto, followed by LOL, then Valorant and what have you. Again, all of this will matter when we're trying to decide as sponsors where we want to, in fact, connect with advertisers, influencers, and what have you. And the last slide here is the top 5 esports games based on most prize money. Again, interestingly enough, it's Dota 2. But that number is skewed because it's overwhelmingly China. Dota 2 in China is by far the premier game, although when we start to take a look at mobile gaming, we'll find that even Dota 2 is being under duress because of the rise of mobile gaming, and mobile gaming means anybody with this can play games, okay? And this final slide here talks about esports industry growth drivers, as well as the age group, which again is more a reinforcement of what we've been talking about. And so that's my lecture for Module 1. I hope you have found it of interest. And even though I've talked about the PowerPoint, there is a separate link just for the PowerPoint. Okay. All right, students, we will see you for Module 2.